Hi, today I'm going to be reviewing Magician's Gambit by David Eddings. So, like the previous two novels, this book starts out with a prologue. It seems like each book starts out with a prologue to sort of give you some backstory as to what is going to be happening in the novel. It's a very kind of old school way of setting stuff up because this stuff hasn't really been set up before. So they're like, here's a convenient prologue that tells you what's something that is important that is going to happen. This one goes over one of the gods. A lot of the gods had a hand in creating different people or different things. This god just stayed out of it. He's like, no, I just want to be left alone. I don't care. And there were a bunch of people who were created by other gods, and they were kind of created wrong or something, and none of the gods wanted them. So they were searching for someone to be their god, and eventually they found Ul, who is the god who didn't want to do anything. And after many years of basically begging him, he finally gave up and said, okay, fine, I'll be your god. And the main thing you have to know about his people is that they now live underground. It was basically to prevent the other, I think it was the evil god Tarak was going to kill him or something. It was to prevent that. And so then after the prologue, as usual, this book goes to a couple different places. I think this is in 4 different parts. There's 4 different places they go to. They basically have to cut through this one place called Marigore, and you're really not supposed to go there because there are lots of ghosts and they will basically drive you insane. The god Mara created his people and had them settle in this place, and his people were cannibals, but Mara didn't care. Mara was like, oh, they're fine. And so other people decided, we're going to go slaughter all of these cannibals. And now Mara has basically haunted this land, and all of the souls will just drive you crazy if you go through. And so they wind up having to go through here because they've been cut off from every other way to go, of course. And we learned some interesting stuff in here about the voice that's in Garian's head. So everybody is sort of put into a sleep. They're still able to ride a horse and do stuff, but their minds are asleep so that these spirits won't affect them. And so the voice in Garian's head kind of lets Garian still stay awake, but the spirits don't really affect him. He sees them, but he's not really affected by it because part of his brain is asleep. But anyway, this voice that's basically been telling him how to use magic, it is essentially a manifestation of the universe's will. It's very weird. So apparently something went wrong in the universe at some point and has been trying to correct it ever since, and has slowly been leading up to this point, to the prophecy that they are trying to work towards. And now the will has manifested inside Garian and is helping him out. So it's not malevolent as far as we know. He's mostly just telling him what to do. And he explains, I can't actually make him do anything. I can just give him advice. That's pretty much all I can do. So we learn about that. So that's kind of interesting. And then we go to the Vale of Aldur. And Aldur is the god that basically taught all the sorcerers, including Belgariad. And at this point, they've been chasing the orb, and then they're like, oh yeah, so because there's 2 factions for the evil god Tarak. And one faction stole the orb from the other faction. So now this one faction has the orb, but the other faction knows where Tarak's body is. So now they're like, okay, well, I guess we don't have to chase the orb yet. We can take a little break. So they go to the Vale of Aldur, where Belgariad learned his sorcery, and there's other sorcerers and stuff. And I feel like this was almost pointless. They go there, Alder says, "Hey, what's going on? See you later," and then they have to leave. I think the whole point is to learn a little bit more about sorcery. The main thing about sorcery is that you can create stuff, and you can change stuff. You cannot destroy stuff. So even if, like, say you kill someone, they're still there. They're just dead. That they just transformed. But you can't just say, to a rock, don't exist. You can't just poof it out of existence, because the universe has created everything, and it'll be very mad at you if you try to destroy something. So all of that energy will be shot back at you. So kind of the way sorcery works is you have to have the will to do it, but also whatever force you're using, it kind of gets thrown back on you. At one point, Garion, instead of pushing a rock, he decides to lift it with the magic and turn it over, and he gets like slammed into the ground by the force of his magic because he decided to lift up a rock. And what you're supposed to do is brace yourself and then do your magic. Well, he doesn't know that, and so that's kind of the main point of this little tiny section, is teaching the audience and Garion about magic a little bit more. And so then they eventually go to Ulgo, which deals with the god Ul and his underground people. So before we get into that, there is a set of conflicting prophecies, and we don't know specifically what either of them say. We do know that the prophecy that the main people are trying to follow specifies a very large group of people that are involved in this prophecy, and they give them titles. And so Belgariad has been collecting people for this party to have a role. And he knows he has to go to Ulgo to get one of these people. While they're describing the roles of these people, they literally call Garion the Chosen One. This is I know I've said it before, I think in my first review of the series, but it's a Chosen One story, and they just come out and say, yeah, he's the Chosen One. That is his title. He's the Chosen One in the prophecy. And I laughed. It was great. And so anyway, they go to Ulgo. They basically go to the city where they were before they went underground. And Ulgo is very fascinating because it's all caverns and whatnot. And all the people have been down there for about 5,000 years. So they're very pale. Their hair is very pale. Their eyes are very large. They're not blind, but they don't need a whole lot of light to see. So they mix sort of a powder in order to make a very dim light to be able to see. And so they're mostly walking around, mostly blind down there. They can kind of see a little bit. But they go down there and they're trying to find someone else for their party. And this person has the ability to detect caves and to walk through stone. And that is his ability. And the reason they need this person is because where the orb is now, it is in the land of the evil people. It's called Cathal Murgos. It's like Cthulhu. It's the CTH thing. CTHOL. Cathal. I'm just gonna pronounce it Cathal. Cathal Murgos. That's the country where the evil people are. And it's in this particular fortress. And it is a big, just solid, I think it's obsidian or basalt. It's a giant friggin' tower, and it's like, I think they say it's like a mile wide or something, and like a mile tall, or a couple miles wide and a mile tall. It's all solid stone. It's a fortress, and they need to be able to get there to get the orb. And because even though they weren't having to chase the orb so much, because now it stopped moving, but they still need to get it. So Belgariad has theorized that there should be a way to go in from underneath and get through to the top of this fortress, and that's why they need this person who can detect caves and to walk through walls. So of course they go there, and of course there's caves. And what do you know? So also this country has slaves. They come across a woman who has escaped from the slave pens, but she's in a cave. I don't know how she has survived, but she's there. Turns out she is one of the other party members that they need. She is one of the last of the Marags or Marags, one of the descendants of the people that Mara created, the cannibals. I don't think she's a cannibal, but she's a slave descendant person. And because they needed someone from that race, and they were saying, how are you going to find this person? They're all dead. Well, apparently not, because, plot convenience. Who knew? And they just leave her down there. They say, oh, we'll come back for you. Just stay here. Like, oh, gee, thanks. So they go up, and they find the evil person who has taken the orb. He also has a CTH name, Kuchik? I don't know how to pronounce his name. He is evil, and he managed to, the other person managed to steal the orb by using a little kid, an innocent, because you have to be completely innocent or of the Revan line to hold this orb. And so Kuchik stole the kid with the orb, and he has him. So Belgarath and Kuchik spend a little bit of time trading insults, and then Belgarath just wrecks his shit, and woohoo! Then we get the orb, or well, they got the kid who has the orb, because they tell Gary not to touch it for some reason. I'm guessing he has to touch it at a specific time. And then the book actually ends a little bit on a cliffhanger. Not really, they're going to get out, but it says they run away as the mountain starts to break apart around them, and then it ends, and you're like, okay, yeah, they'll be fine. Also during this point, Sinedra has been left behind in Ulgo, because apparently a part of either their prophecy or the opposing prophecy says that if she goes to Thal Murgos, she'll die. So they just leave her in Ulgo, which is fine. And Kuchik thinks like, oh, where is she? Oh, she's downstairs. Haha, you have already lost. And then Belgarath smirks and is like, you sucker. And then Kuchik gets really mad, and then they fight, and Kuchik loses. He tries to destroy the orb, and I'm like, of course, they brought up the whole point that you cannot destroy anything. He says, be not to the orb, and then he's like, wait, I didn't mean it. And then that whole force is basically bringing down the mountain. And I'm like, oh, of course, they brought this up for a reason. So it ends on a cliffhanger. I mean, they immediately address it in this one, so it's not really a cliffhanger, but whatever. So that was the third book. Let's go into now what I thought of the book. So I have to say that this one is definitely the best of the three so far that I've read. I think because it gets a lot more into the lore, into what the hell they're doing. You learn a lot more. And I don't know, it was a very forward-moving book. They weren't just going in circles the whole time. It was a little annoying because they had to go to the Vale of Alder, which was a sidetrack, but it had a point to showing off a bunch of the sorcery and how it worked. And they had to pick up a person and bring them along with them. But it was all very interesting. And they don't spend a whole lot of time with fights. Fights last so, they're so short. Like, even the confrontation with Kuchik and Belgarath, they spend more time bitching at each other than they do actually fighting. Like, it doesn't take very long for Belgarath to beat him, mostly because Kuchik beats himself by being an idiot and forgetting the rules of sorcery. I feel like if you were a sorcerer or had magic of any kind, you would not try to destroy anything. Like, you would realize that that's really bad to do. But of course, plot convenience, you have to have your plot conveniences. There are so many things that are convenient for the plot in here. There's at one point, they're traveling through the mountains, and they need to find a place to stay because one of the horses that is with them is going to have a baby. And I haven't mentioned this, but there's a person with them who can speak to horses, and they have horses. I mean, he's a guy, and he says, oh yeah, she's about to have her baby. You might we need to find shelter. And they're like, well, there's no shelter around. We're in the middle of the mountains, and I don't see anything. And then Garion's like, wait a second, I know where some is, because something in his brain, he tells him, like, I don't know how, but I know where this place is. And it's apparently like a hidden hall that the gods used to meet in. And then the foal dies, and they're all sad about it, and Garion's like, I can bring it back to life. And they're like, no, Garion, you can't. That's really dangerous magic. And he just does it anyway. And the foal now follows him around and is adorable. But, like, just the conveniences. And it's not like I hate necessarily like how convenient they make things, but it's definitely more of an old school technique. I also had to laugh when they said, oh yeah, Sinedra has to stay in Ulgo, or, you know, not go to Cathal Murgos, because otherwise she'll die. I'm like, it has never been brought up before this point. It was one of those plot conveniences, like I said. Just to stick it to Kuchik at the end, it served no other purpose. There was never any foreshadowing or anything else that her going there would be dangerous. You know, it was just, oh yeah, you have to stay here. Why? Oh, because you'll die if you go to Thalmurgos. Oh, okay. And then Kuchik thinks like, oh, where is she? Oh, she's not here. What? Like, it existed basically for a punchline, I feel. And yeah, and also they say that, of course, Garion, he understands how to do all the difficult magic just instinctively, but the simple concepts elude him. Like, he can bring a horse back to life, and he can do a whole bunch of other different things. At one point, he cured a guy's madness, I think in one of the previous novels. And they're like, that's really difficult magic, but he just knows how to do it. But then the idea of the force of magic when he moved the rock, he didn't know that. And they make it so you kind of understand, like, Garion's just doing things instinctively. Like, he doesn't know why. He doesn't know how he's doing it. He's just doing it. So when he's actually trying to do magic, it's a lot harder. But it's still one of those really old tropes. And again, this book is, I mean, 30 plus years old, so I can understand. But it's like, okay, you know how to do the difficult stuff, but the easy stuff is so hard. I've seen that so many times in novels. One of my favorite series, the Black Jewels series by Anne Bishop. I love that series. Same thing with the main girl. Same thing. Difficult stuff, easy. Easy stuff, hard. But whatever. I don't really care. I just think it's funny. Yeah, and then I like this one a lot because a lot more stuff actually happens. They're actually working towards a goal. And it's not just, because in the first and second book, it's like, all right, we're chasing the orb, and not a whole lot really happens. You're kind of intrigued by the mystery of it, but not a whole lot really happens. A lot of stuff actually happens in this. You meet a lot more of the key players. A lot more stuff actually happens. Sometimes people get captured and have to be rescued. Most of that is kind of plot cul-de-sac-y. There's not really a point. Silk, who is one of their companions in the very beginning, gets captured, and then it's resolved immediately, just to show off the guy who can walk through rocks' powers. It's just to show that off, and it goes nowhere. And it's like, okay, bye. We rescued you, bye. And yeah, so I don't really know what else really to say about it. It is definitely, again, I think it's the best of the three so far because a lot of stuff actually happened. And of course, it builds on things that were in the other two books. I also think it's the worst as far as the old tropes go, though. If you can get past that, it's fine. It's just, you will be noticing these and go, oh my god, really? Is that what they're doing? Okay. This did have some POV stuff from Sinedra's point of view, but for one thing, they I don't know, I'm trying to think. For the last 100 pages of the book, she's not there. So there's no POV from her. And then they don't even, in the other 200 pages of the book, she's only there part of the time. Well, she's there with them, but she's only doing the POV part of the time. So I still don't really understand why people think she's annoying. I think there's a lot more stuff with her in the fourth book, though, because I think that's when she and Garion are supposed to get married, and she's probably a brat. But so far, I don't really see the hate for Sinedra. I can understand maybe like she's annoying, but she's annoying as okay. So there's two differences when characters are annoying. One, a character's annoying unintentionally. You just don't like them because they're not a good character. The other time when they're annoying is they're supposed to be annoying, and it works with the plot. That's the second one. That's what I see as Sinedra in this one. She's supposed to be annoying and a brat, and she's getting better. They show that she's getting better, and they point out she has never really been outside of her home city. She's never dealt with the cold. She doesn't. She's never experienced this. So she's 16, and well, she's almost 16. And she's dealing with all this, so of course she's going to be bitching and being a brat and annoying and all that, and that's fine. So yeah, I enjoy this. What I like is that the series is getting better rather than getting worse, because that would be really hard to recommend it if it got worse. We'll see. There's still 2 more books in this first series, and then there's a sequel series, so we'll see if that's also as good. But I would recommend this. I think that it finally gets the plot really going. If you can get through the first 2 books, which again, it doesn't seem like a lot happens, but they're interesting enough that you keep reading, and it's fine because the world is very interesting. Once you get here, plot actually starts to happen, and you start to learn more things, and it's good. They still don't tell you everything, because I think that's kind of the only reason that he is not good at like dropping little hints here and there. He just either tells you or he doesn't tell you. That's how the mysteries work in this, which is fine. It's old school, it's whatever. But they still keep you interested with the mystery. You're very curious as to what the prophecy is, what's supposed to happen. The different places they go are interesting, regardless of whether they're pointless or not. They're still interesting. And I actually, anytime they introduce a new character, I actually enjoy pretty much all of them, which is surprising, because when you take a group that has been established, it can be kind of difficult to introduce new characters, but they do it actually very well. They all get along. They don't spend too much time on them. If there's a character that joins their group, and he's only given maybe like 5 or 6 pages total of like page time. He's not really mentioned a whole lot. He's just mentioned when they introduce him, and he doesn't have to do a whole lot of stuff otherwise, which is fine. They have this big party, so don't introduce these, or don't explain all about these characters unless you have to. That is one thing I do really like. They don't go into the backstories of every single character and take forever. It's like, no, this is just a person. We knew him from back in the day. Woohoo, he's joining us now. Okay, and since the POV is usually from Garian's point of view, he's like, oh, I don't know who this is, but I guess they're important. I mean, hey, who is this person? We'll tell you later, and they never tell him. So I guess that's a roundabout way of saying, again, yes, I recommend this. So far, I recommend the Belgariad. Again, we'll see after I read the other 2. Castle of Wizardry is the penultimate book of this series. This book is thick. It's almost 400 pages long. I think a lot more stuff happens in this one. We probably finally figure out what the prophecy is, because I think the last book is them actually confronting Tarak. Tarak probably is resurrected, and then they have to confront him. So that's probably what's going to happen in this one. And like I said in, I think, my previous video, I will be taking a break after I finish the last book of Belgariad, and I'll be doing some more books. It'll probably be, I'm trying to think of when the last Belgariad review will premiere. It's probably going to be in the middle of October. I don't really have any horror books, because I would love to read some really scary books and do reviews of them for October, but that may not happen. I don't actually have any mysteries or horror books. I don't usually read them. But yeah, I'll be doing some other stuff for October, so don't worry, it'll still be kind of fun. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching. This review is kind of long. I talk a lot. That's kind of how this happens. Go ahead, like, subscribe, all that jazz, because I keep forgetting to say that, although I honestly think that most people know already. it's probably annoying, like, oh my gosh, I know every single person wants me to like and subscribe. But if you do like and subscribe, I really appreciate it. You know, I'm doing this for fun, but it is always nice to, if you see that, it means that, okay, people like what you're doing. So it's more just, you know, instant gratification for me. It's silly. But I appreciate it. And of course, if you want to see what books I'm reading, and also just, I sometimes just tweet like random things in my life, you can follow me at author M.E. Kennedy on Twitter. I also use the hashtag 1 year of books whenever I'm talking about the books that I'm reading and the reviews I'm posting. I also tweet whenever I post a video. So yeah, if you want to follow me or just check me out, you can go ahead and follow me over there, or look, check it out. Or not. I mean, I know some people hate Twitter, so it's okay. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.